We talked about meditation earlier with Dan Harris, and now we're going to go a little deeper with Charlie Knoles, who is a meditation teacher, the same guy who taught me how to meditate. He's a great friend. He also does meditation courses with us at mindbodygreen. My wife and I actually go to bed with Charlie every night. We bring him into our bed. There's a whole other side of meditation. He's got in his course, he has a meditation for sleep, and we literally bring the iPad and bring it in with us in bed every night. Charlie puts us to sleep every night, and so we're going to go a little deeper and talk about meditation with Charlie. Thanks. Cool. Have a seat.
And what that also means is I'm the only speaker where if you all fall asleep at the end of my talk, I'll count that as a success.
So, what do you tell someone who insists they cannot meditate?
Well, I think that people actually meditate all the time without realizing it. And so I think what it really is a matter of classification. Like you find that there are moments in your day when you find yourself being really still, find yourself being really aware. And if you were to then just close your eyes in that moment and allow yourself to experience it a little bit more and allow yourself to be a bit more comfortable with it, then you'd find that you would probably actually be naturally meditating. Now, there are techniques that you can use, of course, a lot of the techniques that I teach, but meditation is a natural state. It's not something that I can put into someone by like whispering a mantra in their ear or making them do something special, although I use all those techniques. Meditation is a state that we have within us that we naturally go into all the time. Now, I think that people in generally speaking, like Western cultures, America, Australia, where I'm from, and kind of still have a little bit of an accent from, we tend to be uncomfortable with spiritual experience.
Right.
When we start to have an experience like that, we think, oh no, maybe I'm not focusing enough, or I sort of start to daydream a little bit and start to feel my mind become a bit expansive, and maybe I'll react to that thinking I've done something wrong or I'm not supposed to do that. Right. But actually these are experiences that you should become more fluent with. What we really want to do is become more fluent with all of our states of consciousness. And in a nutshell, I think that's actually what meditation is. It's just allowing yourself to experience natural consciousness states and getting so comfortable with them that you can sit with them for a while. I think that people who say they can't meditate, what they're really saying is, I'm uncomfortable sitting with myself, with my eyes closed, and just looking at my own thoughts. Now, that's not a state that you want to encourage. You want to encourage people to be more comfortable with themselves, that more fundamental part of themselves. You've got your whole life story that you think is your identity. Right. Where you were born, who your parents were, where you went to school, what job you have, and so on. But we all know, if we think about it, we just allow ourselves to experience it, we actually all have a deeper part of our identity, which is much more important than that. Right. It's a kind of the essential essence of yourself, the essential essence of your own consciousness. And so when people are saying they can't meditate, it's such a strange thing for me to hear, actually. Because everyone's capable of meditating. It's a natural state. You're just being more comfortable with yourself.
No, since you've been practicing since you were 4 years old, can you spot people? Can you say meditator, non-meditator?
Yeah.
Can we look around in the checkout line of Whole Foods? Can you just pick people out and give someone a gentle nudge? Here's my card.
Yeah, well, yeah, I should actually carry more cards around for that purpose. But I don't really see so much meditator, non-meditator, but I see a lot of people who are very stressed.
Right.
We have an epidemic of stress in our culture, and it's when I see someone who doesn't look stressed, who feels comfortable in their own skin, who feels happy with themselves, and the happiness is not coming from some external source. It's not like the happiness of, hooray, I just bought a new Ferrari or a new Tesla, depending on your
I have a feeling you're a Tesla guy.
I'm more of a Tesla guy, definitely. Yeah. It's not that kind of short-term happiness that comes from acquisition or being in love with someone for the first moment. It's like the happiness that comes from within you, which is not dependent on external sources. And that, when you spot that in someone, it can be quite profound. Now, they may be a meditator. They may be someone who has some other kind of practice, which gives them that sense of confidence. But I always think that meditation is just the easiest way to get there, because you don't need any props. I actually wish there were more merchandising opportunities for meditation. There's just none. I mean,
Don't you have a fancy cushion or something?
Yeah, no, you don't. That's the thing. I really wish you did. I could sell more stuff and make lots of money, but unfortunately, all you need to meditate is to be able to sit, close your eyes, and think a thought.
Right. So what's one thing, we talked about this earlier, waiting in line for coffee, someone cuts you off. We live in a culture where stress is around us, and there's no way escaping it.
Yeah.
It's dealing with it.
Yeah.
So what's one thing that anyone can do immediately that can help alleviate stress when you just want to strangle someone?
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, let's rather than thinking about it with that sort of Band-Aid approach, where you at that moment you're already stressed.
Right.
You've allowed yourself to be triggered. What I'd like to just reframe that question as is think about it as the way you'd train a martial artist or train an athlete. Is you're training yourself to respond in a different way to those stimuli. So there's all sorts of things that can be annoying in life. Traffic jams, or missing a plane, or missing a train, or not getting passed over for a promotion, getting a text message that you don't want to get, or not getting the text message that you really wish someone would
We're not
send you.
checking those as frequently.
No, we're not.
now.
No, it's Graham will spank us. But what you want to do is train yourself. We hope. You want to train yourself beforehand so that as you're, you want to give yourself a daily practice. I always think that it's not really like one thing. It's one thing repeated over time. So you train yourself to not be so responsive to those things.
Right.
In the morning, I like to meditate in the morning. I think it's an ideal time. Wake up, brush your teeth, have a shower, sit down to meditate. That's my routine. And give yourself that moment to become more comfortable with a quieter state of consciousness. Now what you're doing then is training your mind to go to that more calm, centered place. And then you're more likely to respond to those sorts of situations that way if you're constantly training yourself to go there. If you feel like those other people do, uncomfortable with that quieter state of consciousness, then you're never going to go there, no matter whether it's a stressful situation or a completely calm situation. Like we all know there's people who are super wired all the time. They're always reacting stressfully to situations they don't need to be reacting stressfully to. This doesn't really have anything to do, like when you look at that person who freaks out in the Starbucks line, it doesn't really have anything to do with what's happening in the Starbucks line. It has to do with their own inner being. And they will those same people who freak out would respond exactly the same way if they were sitting on a beach in some beautiful island in the Caribbean sipping a mojito. It would be exactly the same. They'd still be freaked out at the waiter and, shouting at them.
So how do we get more people to meditate? What are some of, as a meditation teacher, what are some of the biggest misconceptions that you encounter and you hear and it just drives you nuts?
Well, I don't know. It doesn't really drive me nuts so much.
Or drives you to meditate more?
It drives me to want to help people. It drives me to want to correct them. I think that, we need to change two things, really. The first thing is our relationship or our attitude towards ourselves. And the second thing is our attitude and relationship towards meditation. Let me start with the first one. People always say that big misconception is I don't have time. I don't have time to meditate. How am I going to find the time? If you think about, it's really a statement that you are saying about yourself. I don't have time for myself. If you think about the people in your life, like someone who you really respect, imagine someone who's going to invest in your business, who's going to potentially make you really rich, or someone you have a big crush on, or that, if some really important person in your life, if you were to think about that person and they called you up and said, hey, can you give me 10 minutes of your time? You would drop everything for that person, for that person who's not you. Or if you're working like an office job and your boss said, hey, can you stay an extra hour to finish this thing? You'd be like, yeah, boss, no worries. I'll spend that extra hour. And these are the same people who are then going to turn around and say, I don't have 10 minutes to meditate. And what they're really saying is I don't have time for myself. I don't value myself as highly as I value all these other people in my life who might make those same requests of me. And so changing our attitude towards ourselves is going to give us that extra little bit of time. So you have to think of yourself like I am as valuable as that person. If I make an appointment with myself, I'm going to keep that appointment as diligently as I would to some gorgeous person who's interested in me or some business person who wants to invest in me. So that's the first thing. The second thing is we need to change our attitude towards meditation. there's this quote that's going around Facebook all at the moment. You probably heard it. It's variously attributed to the Dalai Lama or Gandhi.
Lots attributed to him online.
I know, right? Yeah, and Einstein. But this one's usually the Dalai Lama or Gandhi, depending on who's posting it. And it goes something along the lines of, if you don't have time to meditate for an hour, you should meditate for 2 hours. That's a sign that you should be meditating for 2 hours. That is absolutely the worst advice you could possibly give someone. I mean, I don't care if the Dalai Lama actually said that. I'm going to go on the record here and say he's wrong.
You heard it here first. We're making news here at Revitalize.
Because, I mean, and to put a little caveat on that, maybe it works really well for a Tibetan monk who lives in the mountains and whose job is to be a professional meditator.
Right.
But for the average person, that is so daunting, it's ridiculous. You can't expect someone to do that. Like you've got some busy working mom and she's like, I don't have an hour to meditate. 2 hours then. No, that's not going to work. The right approach is to say, well, where do you have your little moments of time?
Right.
You know, where do you have, if you don't have an hour, God, 5 minutes. If you don't have 5 minutes, 30 seconds. Where do you have your moments where you can spend getting comfortable with yourself? And you know, there were a couple of methods that were given before. It can be as simple as sitting, closing your eyes, and just being aware of your breath in a comfortable position.
Right. On the subway.
Yeah,
Anywhere.
it doesn't. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And so that's the other part of it. You know, I get my meditation students send me these text messages all the time, and it's photos of where they're meditating, some beautiful beach in Hawaii or something like that. And it's like, I'm just about to meditate right here, and then I look at it, and I always write the same thing back to them: remember to close your eyes. Because it actually doesn't matter where you are. You could be on some beach in Hawaii or at the Kiva here in Miraval Resort, or you could be in a jail cell.
Right.
And if you close your eyes and experience your own inner consciousness, it comes with you everywhere you go.
Right.
So you don't have to be in some special place. When I say change your attitude towards meditation, let's get rid of the cultural baggage that says women can't be enlightened, which, by the way, comes in a lot of Tibetan Buddhism.
Really? Yeah,
let's get rid of a lot of the things where it says you have to meditate for hours at a time to get any advantage out of it. That's been scientifically proven to be untrue.
Right.
Let's get rid of these ideas that only a monk can meditate. You know, normal people who wear normal clothes and do normal jobs, practice meditation, and we can do it really simply in short periods of time wherever you are, in the time periods that you have. Now, I'm a big advocate for doing more meditation, of course. I'm a meditation teacher. I'm going to tell you, just like a trainer would tell someone who wants to lose weight, the more you do, the better it's going to work, of course. But don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
Right.
You know, you want to get the time in that you can, and that's the really important thing about it.
So you mentioned weight loss.
Yes.
Can meditation help there?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, one of the things I always say to people that every life change that you want to make starts with good decisions and clear thoughts. So, you know, when you're in that moment where you are choosing between like chocolate cake or kale salad, you know, which way do you go? Well, scientific research shows that if you're stressed, you're more likely to choose the chocolate cake. Like, we all know this, right? Like in those moments where you go like, ice cream would just solve all my problems right now. And you know what? It actually doesn't, but it feels that way because you're stressed. If you reduce the stress, you're more likely to choose the healthy options. I'm not going to say that, you know, you learn to meditate and, you know, next week you're suddenly going to have rippling six-pack abs. I wish it were true. But if you do meditate, you're more likely to choose healthy options, definitely.
So I want to quickly touch on, you mentioned changing your thoughts. Let's talk about how meditation changes your mind. What does that look like, how it changes your brain?
How it changes your brain? Oh, there's all sorts of interesting stuff. And you know, there's just this flowering of research right now. Some of the things that typically people are seeing now is in the brain, when you get stressed all the time, the part of your brain that's responsible for the stress response, your brain's kind of like a muscle. It actually does change depending on what you're exposing it to. So people who get stressed all the time get a stronger part of the brain, the amygdala, which is responsible for the stress response, gets more powerful. Now, given that your brain is kind of limited in its resources, and it's got in a limited case, and it's also got limited amounts of sugar and so much that can get to it, something has to give, and what gives is the prefrontal cortex. And so people actually get the part of the brain that's responsible for rational thought, creativity, and problem solving gets smaller. Now, if you, or gets functionally smaller, I should say. If you practice meditation for 3 months, that has been shown to reverse. So those people that you know who are always freaking out about everything, it's not really their fault. That's just the way their brain's set up. It's the way they've exercised it. And someone who practices meditation for about 3 months or so, you begin to reverse that process and become a person you become really lousy at getting stressed, like you suck at it. And on the other side, you become much better. You become better at solving your problems, being creative and thinking rationally. So that's huge. The really interesting research, though, is kind of in that field of epigenetics that Terry was talking about before. The really fascinating research on meditation now is showing that, we know every time cells split, there's these little bits called telomeres at the end of every bit of DNA, and they fray a little bit. It's one of the causes of aging. This is really fascinating. It's kind of like the cutting edge right now. It's super cool stuff. So meditation actually causes this little enzyme called telomerase to come in and start to repair the frayed telomeres. And so I used to always joke that I was going to live to be 200. And now that I've seen this research, I'm like, maybe I'm not joking, actually. Maybe I actually will.
Well, so we're live streaming this.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone in the world is watching.
Oh, yeah. Hi, everyone.
We got 1 minute left.
Okay.
We've got a unique opportunity.
Okay.
You can teach everyone to meditate in 1 minute.
Everyone in the world.
Can you do it right now? Ready?
Everyone in the world.
We're gonna get the
We're gonna
timer.
meditate.
60 seconds. Can we do that?
Okay.
Let me know when we get. Can we get a minute on the clock?
Minute on the clock. Thanks.
Okay. Ready?
Okay, this is going to be super easy.
Go.
So first of all, sit and get yourself nice and centered, get yourself comfortable, and close your eyes. And at first, just gently, without putting any particular focus on it, just be aware of your breath. Start to feel the sensation of the breath coming in through the nostrils. You can feel the breath in the throat, in the lungs, expanding your abdomen, and just sit and breathe. And just feel what that feels like. The breath is what keeps us in the present moment. So any time that your thoughts come in and start to distract you from the breath, just gently, easily bring your attention back to the breath. In a really easy way. If you hear some sort of sound, like the sound of my voice, for example, and it pulls you away from the attention of the breath, don't judge it. Just bring your attention back to the breath again. Sit really easily. Now you can expand the lungs, breathing a little bit deeper, not hyperventilating, but just filling the lungs completely and letting go. And I'm just going to let you sit for the remaining seconds and just be aware of the sensations in your body as you breathe in and breathe out. And on the next outward breath, you can slowly open the eyes.
I think you did it.
Good. So as simple as that was, that's actually all you need to do. If that's all you can do, that's all you need to do. And that's a great method to use, just closing your eyes, being aware of your breath.
It didn't take 2 hours. You went a little over. You went like 70 seconds, but we'll take it.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Charlie. Thank you.